Welcome into the Rounding Third podcast. We have a very special edition here. We got the three boys together for the first time ever. How are we doing?
We're good.
We are so pumped for this episode. We are dropping our March Madness version of baseball since, we have no clue when baseball is going to start. So we're going to have some fun. We have been mentioning this for a couple weeks now, and we are going to release our bracket for you guys to fill out. So we'll post a bracket on Facebook. You guys can download it, fill it out with a PDF, and send it back to us. I will post the email, but it is roundingthirdbaseballpodcast@gmail.com. So you will just fill out your bracket and send it back to us in the email. And then we'll go over the bracket, and then we'll tell you how the point system works. And did say that the winner of our bracket will get a New Era fitted hat for the team of their choice. So that will be the award at the end.
Unless it's the Yankees. We refuse to buy a Yankees hat.
No Yankees hats.
Just saying.
Or affiliates of the Yankees.
That's a good point. That too.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. And we'll go from there. We'll start with the Babe Ruth bracket here.
Yeah, so to give you guys an idea of how we made the brackets, we kind of started with the top 64. We put the top 16 players into each of the four segments of the bracket, and then everything else was random. So we spread the top 16 out and then randomized the matchup. So there's definitely
it's not like truly like a number 1 versus 16 or something like that.
Right.
Correct. So it makes for some really interesting matchups.
All right.
Do it.
All right, so we got our first matchup here is Babe Ruth versus George Brett. I mean, both great players in their time.
Tough one for George Brett, I think.
Absolutely.
We have to be honest. But yeah.
I would not want to be facing a lot of these guys in the first round, but
Yeah,
especially
right.
not Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
So tough one for George Brett.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
George.
So second one, we got Cy Young versus Yogi Berra. How are we feeling about that one?
If it's a battle of famous quotes, it's Yogi in a landslide.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
a couple
on the
of cool
baseball
players,
field?
though. I don't know, man. I was looking through some of the. I know where we obviously had it in a few days ago.
Yeah.
Some of these I think that look like landslides at the beginning. You dig into it a little bit, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So we'll see. But that should be a good one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be some fun ones here.
Yeah. So this next one might split some people here. We got Ken Griffey Jr. versus Cal Ripken Jr. And like we said, this was kind of random. Other than the top 16, everybody below 16 was random, and poor Cal drew Mr. Griff there.
Yeah, the junior matchup.
Yep, the junior matchup. But again, like we're taking a whole bunch of factors into it, so it might not necessarily be who you think. But
I mean, and honestly, you could argue for either of these guys. You got Cal Ripken Jr., who never missed a day of work, Gold Glove defender, great all-around hitter, versus the kid, kind of show-stopping defender, power bat, not the same hitter Cal was, certainly not the injury track record Cal had.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. It'll be a good one. Next one, we got Mike Schmidt versus Lefty Grove.
Poor Lefty.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that I think I have the hardest time with is like a pitcher versus a position player.
Right. I agree.
Those are going to be the hardest ones, I think, for me to pick between. Yeah. And especially like the old time pitchers, because you don't know, their stats are so inflated by how many starts they made that you just have no.
It's like every 3 days. Like there was in 5-man rotations and stuff like that.
There was no bullpen. They went the whole game.
It
was just you.
Yeah.
I do feel like our brackets are going to see some recency bias with the newer players getting some nods because we know them better.
Right.
And also just it's a hard compare to the old school guys. It just is.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to the next one. This one was a tough matchup right off the bat as well. We got Ted Williams versus Tom Seaver. I mean, both incredible baseball players. That pitcher-batter matchup, but
yeah, it's all right. And it's like any other batter from the 40s. It's like Tom Seaver has a chance. Like Ted Williams, I don't know. How do you that was a tough one when we first did it. I was like, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
For Tom.
For sure.
And I haven't changed my mind.
Ted Williams with anybody's a tough matchup. But if Tom Seaver were to face Ted Williams in their prime, who do you think wins that matchup?
Well, how many
On the
many
mound.
bats?
Three at bats. What does Ted Williams do in 3 at bats against Tom Seaver?
I mean, we're talking prime Tom Seaver here.
Prime Tom Seaver, prime Ted Williams.
0 for 0, 3 walks.
I mean, honestly,
That's a cop out.
it's like-
That's a cop out.
I tell you this: he doesn't strike out.
No way.
He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't strike. I mean, he's a great strikeout pitcher of his time. Does
Yep.
not strike out Ted Williams. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, the numbers say Williams gets a hit, right? Goes 1 for 3.
yeah, I would say.
He
One
doesn't-
for three, if there's
he
no
goes-
walks.
Right.
1 for 3, but he's going to
Wait,
get
no.
on base at least.
But I mean,
Yeah.
But Seaver walked Ted Williams. I mean, Seaver doesn't walk anybody, let alone.
Right?
I
No,
mean,
I
although
know.
maybe
It's-
you pitched to Ted differently.
Or the catcher just goes.
yeah, intentional.
Yeah.
Send him.
Oh, right. You don't even do
That's
that.
right. Just wave your fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's
I think
only one.
statistically, you have to imagine Ted probably goes 1 for 3 with a long fly out and a hard hit ground ball, something like that.
Oh, he's going to barrel up.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's going to be no cheap shots
Yeah.
here. Nothing
Absolutely.
weak. No
That's-
no slow rollers here.
That's a good one. We got Roberto Clemente against Dave Winfield. Yeah, I mean, we've said before, Dave Winfield was drafted by 4 professional
it's
sports.
Insane.
Like, that's crazy.
It's-
That's freakish.
Absolute freak athlete.
I mean, I barely got drafted by a college,
I mean, we
and I'm
talk
still
athletes.
paying for it.
Yeah,
we
and
talk
you had to pay to go.
Roberto
Right.
Clemente is no sludge athlete either. I mean,
Oh, right.
this is probably athlete for athlete might be the best matchup on the board.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I'd love to
You
see
know.
these guys. I'd love to see these guys play basketball,
Yeah,
everything,
right.
badminton, you name it.
Right, athlete versus athlete. I mean, that might be the best on the board.
But in the famous words of Sean, R.I.P. in peace, Dave Winfield.
R.I.P. in peace. And Roberto. I mean, Roberto. R.I.P. in peace.
Right.
Well, no, in this matchup, I'm saying R.I.P.
Oh,
in peace to
I'm
Dave
sorry. I thought
Winfield.
you meant like in
No,
real
no, no,
life.
sorry, no.
I think-
in this
Is
bracket,
Dave Winfield
it's,
still alive?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, Dave Winfield's still alive.
He's
but,
still what a
but in this
He's still alive.
in this bracket, he's not.
Yeah, right. I think so.
So this one is really, really interesting. This is Walter Johnson versus Satchel Paige. I did find a site for Negro League stats.
Nice.
They
Yeah,
are
they
out
count,
there.
and they count in this bracket.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at Satchel Paige, those count.
Yep, absolutely. Morgan says 2 for 4, Williams. I mean, that's pretty good. That's probably better than the 333, honestly.
I take it. He's hitting 500. I take it.
Absolutely.
I think in that matchup, Ted wins 1, Seaver wins 1, Ted wins 1, Seaver wins 1.
Yep.
Probably goes like that for a long time.
Absolutely. But yeah, this one took me a while. I'm going to be honest. I was stuck on this one for a while because, obviously they were before anybody's time that is watching this podcast. But everybody knows who these two are. And they were both dominant. I mean, Satchel Paige was what? I think his last pictures was like in his 60s or something like that. It was
It was
silly.
freakish. He was at least into his late 50s still
Yeah,
pitching.
I think I sent it to you. I think he said his 70 is like what his age is on his MLB profile. It's insane.
Morgan, that's a fair question. In this bracket, how old are we assuming Satchel Paige is during this matchup? I don't know.
Under 100.
I mean,
I
I hate there. Unfortunately for Satchel, I guess fortunately and unfortunately, there was really no drop off with age for him. He continued to be pretty effective even
Right.
later in his career.
So yeah, I mean, overall career, I guess you go by. I mean, I don't know how you match these two up. It's close. I've looked at both of them. It's close, but yeah, man, it's awesome. I love it.
I mean, and Walter Johnson was believed at the time to be the one pitcher that probably threw in the 90s, maybe even the high 90s.
Yeah.
He was the only pitcher of that era believed to throw that hard. There's no proof because you didn't have any sort of radar gun back then. But
right.
if a guy threw the innings that he threw, the number of times he did it and threw that hard, that's freakish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
That his arm didn't fall off.
That Nolan Ryan before Nolan Ryan.
Right.
Look at him; he's built like a horse.
Yeah.
He's not a small dude.
No, I mean he's built like a
it's a
horse.
It's a thick boy right there.
Yeah.
I bet he could have hit too if you gave him a bat.
Probably.
I could almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
Probably all those guys could. Those old time baseball guys.
Yeah, those guys didn't mess around.
No.
They he'd pitch 9 innings, get a couple of hits, and then go fight you in the bar later.
Or in the dugout.
Or in the
drinking.
dugout, yeah, that could happen too.
And win, yeah. With a sore arm.
Right, exactly. It doesn't matter.
All right, we got next matchup. We got Tony Gwynn and Whitey Ford. This will end the Ruth bracket here up top. So Tony Gwynn, Whitey Ford, Again, both
Pitcher hitter.
pitcher hitter matchup. I mean, again, might be a no-brainer for some people, might not be. Depends on,
And I saw an absolutely insane stat set I meant to send you guys. Tony Gwynn faced, I want to say it was Greg Maddux, Pedro Martinez, and
John Smoltz, I think it was.
300 and something times in his life and struck out 3 times in all those at-bats.
It's ridiculous.
I saw that stat. I'm like, that can't even be right. He struck out 1% of the time against the best pitchers of that generation.
Strikeout pitchers.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. These were strikeout pitchers. Like, these were not guys that like nibbled at corners. Like, they blew you away.
And you look at that guy and you're like, there's no way this guy's a contact hitter. Like,
I know,
Tony Gwynn was not built. Like, what?
And really, outside of his mid-20s, I mean, he was not built like much of an athlete. He was, he was never a guy that shocked you with his athleticism, but the guy can hit with the lights out.
The hand-eye coordination.
Oh yeah.
And pitch recognition. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. It's insane.
Well, it was unreal.
Yeah, there was a story where he was like coming up, and there was a rain delay, and like he goes in the clubhouse, and he goes, "All right, I'm gonna put this first pitch when we come back out. It's gonna be a slider on the outside corner. I'm gonna put it in the left field gap." What does he do? Slider, outside corner. He knew what the pitcher was going to throw before the pitcher even threw it. It's crazy.
I mean, he studied pitchers like Kurt Schilling studied hitters. Like they had notes. They were watching video. They were going back and watching their bats. He knew getting into the box exactly how that sequence was going to go.
Well, I think it's neat too. Like when you watch like on YouTube or whatever, like the replay of the 99 All-Star game at Fenway, right? Like when Ted Williams comes out in the golf cart.
Oh, yeah.
Like how much respect Tony Gwynn had for the way Ted Williams, like it's almost like Tony Gwynn tried to, he wasn't necessarily the power hitter that Ted Williams was, but it was like approaching the art of hitting.
Yeah.
Like the same way that Ted Williams did, right? Like the respect that the two of them had for each other, but mainly what Tony Gwynn was showing to Ted Williams, I found that to be like, it's a really cool video.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Ted Williams asked Mark McGwire, "Do you smell burning wood when you foul one off?" Because Ted Williams used to. Like, you gonna smell the burnt wood when you foul one off? And McGuire's like, "Yeah."
Oh,
like that's the level that guy.
No, that's your muscles ripping. But,
yeah, right.
Anyways,
that's you sweating out the roids. Don't worry.
Right. All right, so that concludes the Ruth bracket. We are going to move down.
So let's recap the Ruth.
Okay,
bracket.
go ahead.
So quick recap of the Ruth bracket. So we got our headliner Babe versus George Brett, matchup 1. Matchup 2, we Cy Young and Yogi Berra. Matchup 3, Junior versus Junior. 4, you got Schmidt versus Lefty Grove. Then you got Ted Williams and Tom Seaver. You got Roberto Clemente, Dave Winfield. Battle of probably the best all-time athletes baseball scene. Walter Johnson, Satchel Paige. And then we round it off with Tony Gwynn and Whitey Ford.
Yeah.
That's going to be a heck of a bracket.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
So when you look at this bracket real quick before I move on, who do you think the favorites are? Who are the 2 names that jump out at you?
The 2 favorites?
2 favorites right now in that bracket.
Probably Babe, Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn. I know you said 2, but those are 3. But.
All right.
I mean, I say Junior and Ruth, but they're we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's Babe, Junior, and then
that bracket. I mean, all the brackets are loaded. Let's be honest. Like it's going to be tough. But yeah, that's a gauntlet. Yeah, you are totally right.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
brutal.
But I mean, the other ones really aren't much better. Like you're taking the top 64. This is hard. Like
no, there's no cream puffs in this bracket.
We started filling it out, and I called Sean, and I was like, "Dude, how did you do this?" Like,
it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
No, yeah. This is not the number 1 seed Duke playing some
Appalachian State.
Yeah, Appalachian State is a playing team. Like there are no cream puffs here.
Yeah.
All right, next bracket.
So we got the Willie Mays bracket here. We got first matchup Willie Mays, Wade Boggs. I mean, 3,000 hit club. Yeah. I mean, and then Willie Mays. Yeah.
Right. Wade had a great career, but
great mustache.
Thanks for playing.
He probably slugged more beers on a plane ride than Willie Mays had home runs. So we have that. He's got that going for him.
I think it's a tough matchup for Wade Boggs, right? Like I love Wade Boggs. I think it's cool he was like not a home run hitter, but
Right.
his 3,000th hit was a home
That
run.
was cool in
And it's
Tampa.
only him and Jeter. Those are the only two players to
Yeah.
ever have their 3,000th hit be a home run.
That's
Right,
pretty cool.
like that's kind of neat.
It is neat.
Real uphill battle for him in this one, though.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Real uphill battle.
Yeah, I love Wade Boggs and what he did for the Red Sox and his lemon chicken and beer and all his little idiosyncrasies. But I mean,
Tough one.
short of God, nobody's taking Willie Mays down.
Certainly not in the first round.
No,
No.
no. So again, R.I.P. and peace, Wade Boggs.
Mhm.
Yeah. Second matchup here, we got Jackie Robinson against Harmon Killebrew.
Very good.
Also a very good one here. Yeah, I mean, both of them. I don't know, tough. This was a tough one for me too. Killebrew's got the power. Jackie's got the impact on the game.
That's the thing. I mean, statistically, they're very different players, but
Right.
what Jackie means to the game, but also what Harmon Killebrew meant to Minnesota. I mean, it's
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
it's a tough one.
And still means to Minnesota.
That's true. That's
Like,
very true.
I
Still
mean-
means to Minnesota. He's still an icon there.
Him and Joe Mauer, right? I
Yeah.
mean, probably you name the Twins. Those are the two players that
Yeah.
Twin Cities think about.
And all right, Dickie.
And,
All right, Dickie had like 2 mediocre years in Minnesota. For some reason, I know he won the Cy Young in Toronto. He signed the big ticket with the Mets, but I picture him with a Twins hat on. It makes no sense. I don't know
No.
why, but I picture him with his twin.
Whatever.
I
But
don't
then
get it.
R.A. Dickey went and had a pretty good career. So you think about it from the Twins' perspective. Who are the two players you think of that kind of got away? It's maybe R.A. Dickey, but it's David Ortiz.
oh,
Yeah, that's right.
Another
100%.
player
David
that
Ortiz
that
for
got
sure.
away.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Jeez.
For sure.
Ortiz right now could be in the Hall of Fame with a Twins hat.
Oh, God.
Could you imagine?
Like Randy Johnson with a Diamondbacks hat.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
He
I'll
won
never
4
understand.
Cy Youngs there. Okay, we're not.
I know. I know. I get it.
We'll get to Randy Johnson later. He won 4 Cy Youngs there.
He did.
Randy Johnson didn't make the top 64. Kidding.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Like,
move.
what bracket are you looking at?
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next one. We got Greg Maddux versus
Oh,
Pete Rose.
this
This
one-
is a good one.
This one hurts.
Yeah, this one's gonna hurt a lot,
Oh.
but this one's a great one. I mean, Greg Maddux was an absolute artist,
Oh,
and I mean, Pete Rose
I
is
mean, he's the hit king.
Pete Rose,
He's the
right?
hit king. I mean,
exactly.
it's
and not only that, but what better picture of Pete Rose than him
Charlie
like
Hustle.
full on in the air going in? I mean, that guy, he had one speed.
Yeah.
One speed.
So I honestly don't know where that one's gonna go, but that one's gonna be an interesting matchup to see who picks.
I could literally sit there for hours and watch video from the center field camera watching Greg Maddux throw that two-seamer that moved like 37 feet.
Yeah.
Just like it would like hit a lefty in the hip and then end up over the middle of the plate. Like it was unreal.
Morgan goes hardest matchup in the bracket. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
hard.
disagree.
I don't either.
I don't
So
disagree
far.
with him.
I mean, flip a coin. I mean, how do you pick between these two?
this one.
I mean,
one's
you're either knocking out in the first round the best hitter, and I mean the hit king. I mean that's Pete Rose, or you're telling Greg Maddux he isn't good enough to get to the second. Greg Maddux isn't
Right.
good enough to get to the second round.
Right.
I mean, you're picking one of them. It's almost not fair.
That's going to be the dagger, I think, for this
Boy.
bracket, right?
Oh,
I
I
mean,
think
there's
so, yeah.
so many that you're like, I can't choose, like, and you just got to pick one. Like that's going to be the hardest.
And I know
thing
we
to
said it, but I don't want people like this was totally randomized.
It was.
It
totally.
was
Right.
Like we weren't going around being like, "Oh, that'd be a good first round match." Like this was totally.
Let's
randomized
mess with
for the
people and
record.
make this matchup.
For the record,
Right.
because that sucked when we had to do that.
No,
That
when-
sucked.
When Nick spun the wheel and I put the names in the bracket, we like, oh my
That
god,
sucked.
should we respin? This seems
Yeah,
wrong.
that's
Like this seems wrong, but we kept the integrity of the bracket and left it that way.
Yeah. And I think it's going to make it, it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to start like talking through it and stuff, but it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting.
All right. Next matchup we got Ricky Henderson against Frank Robinson. Also
Two
another
entirely
good,
different ball players.
Mhm.
Crazy.
but also a very good one here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ricky Henderson stat about like a current MLB player can have 50 steals for the next 20 years
Oh,
or something like that and
obscene.
still can't reach him. Like it's ridiculous.
Ricky Henderson could show up today and probably still steal 30 bases.
And he'll tell you about it.
That is the one thing with
Absolutely.
Ricky is he was
Yeah.
He'll tell you about it.
he's not afraid to tell you how good he is. But
Um,
that guy at his prime, he would either get you with a leadoff dinger. He loved the leadoff
Yeah,
dinger.
he did.
Or he'd get on base somehow. Before you knew it, he'd be at third base. And you'd be standing there as a fan going, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
He got a single. He's at third base. What happened?
crazy. But that's going to be a good matchup as well.
Pitcher's nightmare because you didn't want to pitch to him. but you couldn't afford not to pitch to him because he was more dangerous on the bases.
And Frank Robinson doesn't get enough credit. Not only was he an amazing player, he won the MVP in both leagues.
Yep.
Manager of the year.
And a manager of the, like, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
this
we have a
guy,
manager.
this guy
Sick.
had an outstanding baseball career. So I mean, that one's another good one. I like that one too.
Yeah, that's two very different players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
wow,
Already got
all
somebody
right.
making a call.
Dang.
I don't disagree.
Wow.
I
First
mean-
round
I don't
exit for
disagree.
Ricky.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't disagree.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
That was quick. Morgan was quick to do
All
it.
right. Well, we'll see. We will see. We got Lou Gehrig against Eddie Matthews here. I mean, it's the Iron Horse.
Right. That's
This one's kind of a no-brainer, I think, for me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard when you go against these like truly iconic players. Like I look at, Ricky and Frank were both like just great players, but not iconic players. Like Lou Gehrig is an iconic player.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the speech, the stats, just his status in the game, you're going against somebody who's a true icon.
You guys watch The Sopranos, right? Now, every time I see Lou Gehrig, I just think of that time. It's like later on in the show, but they were talking about Lou Gehrig's disease, and then Christopher was like, "Oh, isn't that ironic that he died from his own disease?" And they were just like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Yeah,
That's so bad.
but yeah, that's another
That
good
is
one.
so bad.
So
But yeah, that's a tough one.
Yep. So we'll move to the next one. We got Clayton Kershaw against Nap LaJoy.
I found this one interesting, especially with it being totally randomized, because it's a guy. Clayton Kershaw. I love Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. I love regular season Clayton
Well,
Kershaw.
I'm just gonna say regular season dominance, clear documented struggles in the postseason. Yeah. I think a lot of people could argue, like, does he even belong in the top 64 right now in his career? I don't know. But then you match him up against a guy like Nap LaJoy, who like is just so old school. Like no one like
pre 1900.
Like you haven't even seen a clip.
Let me look at the collar on the freaking jersey. I mean, that's
when he came to Cleveland, the name of the team changed to the Cleveland Naps. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
The Cleveland Naps was named after him.
Yep.
Like that's how old.
Yeah.
Like it's just an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, his stats are through the roof, but
it's grotesque. I mean, the stats are obscene.
interesting one.
And I agree. Kershaw's a tough one for me. I don't know that I view him as a top 64 baseball player.
I'm not sure either.
But his stat, you look at the numbers and go, damn, like he's.
Yeah.
Well, there was like a stretch.
Oh,
there dumb.
There was like a
not just like
5 or 6 year stretch. He was like top
dominance.
2 or 3 in the league. Period.
Not just
Absolutely.
national league, all of baseball.
The whole baseball league.
It
Exactly.
was-
All of baseball.
It really was. Yeah.
I mean, the devastating off-speed stuff. Then that back when he had that mid 90s heater. I mean, he was.
And always had the smarts.
Yeah.
He could always outpitch him. He
Yeah.
wasn't the guy that had to learn how to pitch later on in his career.
Right.
He could always outsmart you.
Well, that's why he's still winning games now. His stuff is not what it once was, but
Right.
he can still beat you because he's always known how to pitch. When you match a guy that knows how to pitch with devastating stuff like he had early in his career, that's why for 5 or 6 years he was just damn near
that's when you
unhittable.
get guys like Pedro and Clemens.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's what
Absolutely.
happens. I mean, you have guys that rely on their stuff early on, and then they figure out how to pitch.
Exactly.
But you put those two together for a whole career.
Yeah,
It's disgusting.
it's the stats are impressive.
These next two matchups, I think, possibly could be the two hardest.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got Stan
I agree.
Musial against Frank Thomas here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stan the man.
Stan the man. Frank Thomas, 500 home runs. I mean, he was Chicago White Sox his entire career. The Big Hurt. I mean, one of my favorite players growing up, watching him.
We played in Toronto.
Oh, okay. I don't count that.
I'm just
But he's
saying,
Mr.
he did.
White Sox.
I mean, it's-
He did. You're right.
He did. But
I don't even think
count
he
that.
counts it, but he did.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, yeah.
back when
it's
that
just-
was the awesome Blue Jay uniforms too.
Oh, they
Like
totally
those
were.
they should,
Yeah.
They totally were.
should totally bring those fully
They
back.
totally should.
Those were awesome
Those were sick.
uniforms. Awesome.
But like, so look at these two guys. Like, career stats really aren't far off from each other. But look at the build. You got Stan Musial, who's I don't know, probably 5'10" and 175 pounds, soaking wet in a sweater, and you got Frank Thomas, who is one of the largest human beings you'll ever meet. I mean, you couldn't have guys that put up the very similar stats that could be any different physically.
Look at those forearms. They're the size of my thighs.
Disgusting.
And my thighs are not small.
No, I mean,
like,
Disgusting.
if a Buick could stand up and walk, it was Frank Thomas.
no doubt.
The guy's huge. He should.
Right.
I mean, I can see why he was drafted.
And
in the
I
NFL.
obviously don't know him personally. Seems like an all-time guy though too.
Right.
Seems like such a great guy.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy you go drinking with, but don't try to arm wrestle.
Yeah, we're right for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
The Stan Musial though, I don't know, man. I mean, like everyone knows the stats are off the charts, but like the guy never had a season under 300.
No,
Never, and
crazy.
he didn't play. He played like 18 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
Insane.
Cardinals. I mean, a couple of guys
Yeah.
who are basically except for the Toronto excursion,
But
who
one-
are career single team
yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
and were the heart and soul of that team, even when they weren't good.
Absolutely.
I mean, Stan had a lot more success than Frank Thomas did, but
So
through and through.
this next matchup, Nolan Ryan against Johnny Bench. This will round out this bracket, the Mays bracket. Nolan Ryan versus Johnny Bench. I mean, the best catcher of all time against, arguably one of the best pitchers of all time. I mean,
Power
he just
pitchers.
power pitchers.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just did it forever. He did it for 30 years. I think his season debut or his major league debut was in '66,
Yeah.
and his last
He was-
last game was in '93 or something like that.
He was on the roster. He was on the '69 Amazing Mets that won the World Series.
Yeah.
He was on that. He was
yeah.
he was a starting pitcher on that
It's
staff.
crazy.
Nolan
He pitched
Ryan
till
was-
'93, man. Like, get out of here with that.
What's
But-
amazing with Bench is the guy. He could hit for average, hit for power. He was good defensively, good
Great
arm.
defensively.
I mean, like
Great in commercials.
yeah, great commercials. I mean, you got a guy who might be one of the only, if not one of the couple true 5-tool catchers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
exist.
No.
There's no 5-tool catchers in baseball. They just don't exist because that position is so demanding and so physically pounding on you. Most of these guys can't do it all, but Johnny Bench did it all.
Yeah.
The only other guy that even compares to him was Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah.
That actually had all the other tools.
Right. That was semi-fast.
Buster Posey.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe like four
I'm
of the
not,
tools.
I'm not advocating
No, no.
Buster Posey being on here. I'm just saying,
No, no, no.
Right.
of a more of a
Yeah,
recent
yeah,
guy,
absolutely.
like very good defensively.
Yep.
solid offensively.
Solid offensively. Yeah, maybe not all 5, but as close as you could probably.
Well, no, but
absolutely.
in fairness to Buster Posey, when he was healthy, you're probably right. He probably was a 5-tool catcher. We just didn't get to see enough of him healthy, right?
Unfortunately.
That's probably fair.
So that rounds out the Mays bracket. So
let's
we'll
recap
recap that one real quick.
All right, so let's recap this bracket. So we got Mays versus Boggs.
Great mustache.
Yeah, like tremendous mustache, all time.
Who wants a mustache ride?
Don't do it. Jackie Robinson versus Harmon Killebrew. I didn't want to say this one.
I know.
Greg,
We'll go past it.
yeah, Greg Maddox,
Yeah,
Pete Rose.
it's okay.
I just like both of them, those guys. Ricky Henderson, Frank Robinson. Lou Gehrig versus Eddie Matthews. Clayton Kershaw versus Nap LaJoy. Stan Musial versus Frank Thomas. Nolan Ryan versus Johnny Bench. So
Man,
another really impressive bracket.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So before we move on to this one, who we have favorites in this one?
I mean, it's got to be Mays
Definitely.
Mays and Gehrig for me. I mean, it's got to be.
Pete Rose,
Right.
I put in there.
Pete
I say
Rose,
it's. I
right.
say
You
it's.
think
I said
Rose-
the two. If I had to pick two, I would say Pete Rose and Willie Mays.
Look at me. Morgan's thinking it's going to be Mays versus Gehrig in the
Yeah,
final round.
we'll see.
You know,
But
could
I mean,
be. It's going to be. I mean, Willie Mays. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to compete with. But there is a lot of talent in this bracket.
mhm,
A lot
absolutely.
of talent in this
And-
bracket.
Like when you guys start filling out your brackets, when you get to that second round, it's no matter who you pick in the first round, you get to the second one and you're like,
Which one?
what the
Yeah,
hell
you-
do I do?
You think the first round is hard? Yeah, the
Yeah.
second round is going to really suck.
Yeah, it's brutal. But
Oh
yeah.
man! All right, so now we're going to head into the
Aaron.
Aaron bracket.
Yep. So first one, Hank Aaron, Miguel Cabrera.
Oof.
I mean,
Hank Aaron versus Miguel Cabrera. That's not an easy one. I mean, obviously Aaron, but you want to talk about another just all around pure hitter in Cabrera.
Yeah.
Oof.
and he's done it for a while too, right? 97, 96 he
Yeah.
came up. He's been up for
Yeah, 97. I think
Yeah.
the one hit the series.
yeah, I think he was a rookie that year.
Right. Yeah, I mean Cabrera's numbers aren't anything to
He
sneeze
won
at.
rookie of the year,
No.
actually, right? Didn't he?
He,
Didn't he win the rookie of the year in
probably,
97?
he probably did. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the guy came up just hitting missiles right away.
The guy hit laser beams to right center
And
that
at
whole
the time,
series.
too, like pretty decent defender at third base. Like not great,
Right.
right? But like was athletic enough, could play the position.
But
Then goes to the American League where they had the DH and was like, this is what I want to
but
do.
dude, as an 18-year-old, he's hitting bombs at a Joe Robbie stadium,
right.
and
Not
Joe Robbie
small.
was not small.
No,
Like,
he was,
that
and he
place
was
was
hitting
huge.
missiles to right center like
Yeah.
that whole World Series. I mean, But you go back to the video of him in early in his career, he was just like this little thin, raw kid.
Yeah.
And, when he finally kind of bulked up, filled
Yeah,
out.
he certainly had a great career for himself. Still going. It's
Absolutely.
one where I think anyone else other than Hank Aaron, it's probably a shoo-in in the second round.
Yeah.
I don't know how you.
No, it's
Yeah,
away.
the randomizer definitely killed some of these guys,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
for sure.
Like,
I mean,
For sure.
but no matter how you randomize this bracket, you're gonna get matchups where you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
the reality of it is somebody has to face Hank Aaron. It just sucks that it's Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah.
Right.
In the first one.
But, yeah, Moore makes another great point here. 310 hitter, triple crown. He's the last triple crown winner since,
Yeah.
baseball hadn't had a triple crown winner since Yastrzemski. So, I mean, yeah.
Miguel Cabrera at his peak was a guy that nobody wanted to face and nobody could get out easily.
And it's a shame that team never ended up going on
Oh, it sucks.
because you think about what a good job, and we hate him here in Boston, Dombrowski, but Dombrowski brought a title to Boston and did it his way, and he did it the same thing in Detroit.
Yep.
He protected Miguel Cabrera in that lineup with guys like Victor Martinez.
Right?
And
Vic.
you had to pitch to Miguel Cabrera.
Right.
And
Sure.
that was a problem.
Yeah.
It was a problem. I mean, the guy would show up. And we talk about, Nick and I were talking offline about baseball players. We were mainly talking about younger players, but playing in cold weather. Is there any better raw weather, cold weather hitter than Miguel Cabrera? I mean, I would see this guy in Detroit in snow flurries, and he's taking the ball right center.
Yeah, his
Yeah, I'm
first
like,
home
it's
run of the
insane.
year was
Yeah.
him hitting it
In
to right
in
field in the
snow.
snow.
It's he's just, Morgan says one of his favorites, one of mine. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely
Just pure hitter.
so fun to watch him.
Yeah.
He, when you look at pure right-handed hitters, when Manny retired,
It was him.
Miguel
Yeah.
carried the mantle.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Miguel Cabrera could end up with very similar numbers when he retires to Manny.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were very.
I mean,
much
he's
the
already
same
almost
player.
there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
assuming he doesn't fall apart, which he's shown signs he might. I mean, he's going to end up with.
He's over 500 now,
gross
right?
career home runs.
Or is he-
gross career numbers.
Did he hit five?
I think.
Yeah, he's over 500. I think. I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know if he cleared 500 yet, but maybe.
I thought he did either this year or last year, but yeah.
But he was fun to watch. Just fun to watch.
Yeah. So we got next matchup here. We got David Ortiz.
Jesus,
David
yeah.
Ortiz. David Ortiz against Rogers Hornsby. Now, a lot of people don't know who Rogers Hornsby is, but he does have
502.
this 502. So
Okay,
he's
yeah,
over there.
I got there last year.
So Rogers Hornsby has the highest single season batting average. It was 427, 429.
Ridiculous.
Insane. And it was a lot of at bats. It wasn't one of these 27
Yeah,
for 42
Yeah, I
things.
hit the minimum qualifier and I won.
Right. It was a good number of at bats, but I mean this will be an interesting pick too, because people like me, I do like the old time guys, and a lot of viewers like the new time guys, and the new shiny toy in the toy box that just went to the the joke of the Hall of Fame.
And I know it goes with guys that you played with obviously play a role, but David Ortiz just got elected into the Hall of Fame, one of the great DHs, yada yada. Never led the league really in any stats. Never led the league in home runs.
Right.
Never led the league in RBIs. I think he led it in total bases once or twice. Now again, that goes to show the guys he played in his era with.
Oh,
so
sure.
it's not
Right.
necessarily
Yeah.
a knock on David Ortiz, but
But it's a knock on David Ortiz.
well, no, it's more of a it's not, but it's more of a tip of the cap to guys like Roger Hornsby, who, when you look at his baseball references, just littered with league leading.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Just league
Right.
leading for years on end on batting average and on base percentage, and
Absolutely.
I just think it. Yeah,
Rogers Hornsby, terrorized the league during his time. David Ortiz was consistently top 3 in kind of all those offensive categories, but he didn't necessarily lead them.
sure. And like I said,
And-
I'm not trying to knock on David Ortiz for it. I just find it interesting
It
that
is. It is.
Yeah,
Well, it's just like
absolutely.
Nolan Ryan. You look at his career in terms of he never won an ERA title.
Right.
You look at the track record and go, he never led the league in ERA. Nope.
He just struck out 500
he
guys
just struck
this
out a
season.
gazillion guys.
and walked
Also walked 500.
Brazilian.
Yeah.
If he struck out 1 million, he walked 999,000.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
but-
All right. So this next
but as a Red Sox fan, it's really hard to
Yeah.
go past David Ortiz.
this next matchup is also going to be very interesting here. We got Mike Trout against Steve Carlton. I mean, Steve Carlton was very, very dominant in his time, and then Mike Trout here.
Yeah.
Dude, the only thing is the knock on Mike Trout here. Has he proven himself? You know, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. Like the Angels in the basement. He can't pull this team out of the basement. But
no, and it's hard because here's a guy who's what did he just turn 30? I mean, he's
a young kid.
I mean, you got a guy who's arguably not even 2/3 the way through his career. You know, maybe not even halfway, depending on how he takes care of himself.
I just wonder if maybe it's just like a little too premature for Mike Trout to be on the top 64.
I kind of agree with that.
Mm-hmm. It feels hard to put a guy who's been in the league for as long as he's been in the league on this list. However, the body of work is grotesque.
Oh, certainly. And nothing against Mike Trout, like as a player or anything like that, but I almost feel like it's kind of disrespectful to be like Mike Trout moves on and Steve Carlton doesn't. Like Steve Carlton has finished his career, had a great career, had like played in the postseason, was the centerpiece of some of those teams. Like, you know, now not to say Mike Trout won't, but his career isn't over yet. And I don't know. When the randomizer spit this one out, I thought it was a bit premature, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one.
Mike Trout's put up historically impressive numbers at this stage of his career, but he's never won anything. He's never had a shot to perform on a big stage. He's been playing for a team that arguably not even the people of LA care about. So he might lead the world in stats nobody cares about.
Yeah.
On the team nobody cares about.
I mean,
but the body work is amazing, but it's hard to put a guy who's as young as he is on this list already.
Agree.
Yeah.
All right, we got next matchup. We got Jimmy Fox against Ozzie Smith.
Yeah.
I mean,
two completely
I was just going to say another
people.
one of two entirely different
absolutely.
players.
Jimmy Fox could hit the ball 1.5 miles, and then Ozzie Smith could, track anything down within 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
Ozzie hit enough, but he wasn't going to amaze you with his bat. But my God, I mean, the highlight reel defensive plays. I mean, he and Omar Vizquel are probably the two guys in just a class of their own.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the way Ozzie gets out of the first round is it was like Ozzie Smith and Mike Trout.
You could play that.
I'm kind of with Morgan on this one.
Yeah,
I
kind of agree.
Fox, Ozzie Smith gets by Mike Trout. Ozzie Smith gets by Clayton Kershaw.
Can Jimmy Fox do a backflip? Probably not.
No, probably not.
So, yeah.
It
was just an interesting matchup when this one came out too.
It's a cool matchup because very polar opposite players, different eras. Both incredibly deserving of their ranking in the top 64. But it's hard when you got two guys that are just so different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This next one is gonna be a killer here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mickey Mantle against Sandy Koufax. This one came out. This one spit out, and we were like, "What?"
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the Mick has to have
he's got the long
head, right? He's got to be in the lead. I think the Sandy Koufax is interesting, and I didn't necessarily know this about Sandy Koufax until I had to look more into him, and I did because I had the Dodgers for the NL West Rushmore, right? And I had Sandy Koufax on that, obviously. But he played for like 8 or 9 years. Like he didn't pitch for a ton of years. He pitched I think 8 years. His first 4 years were pedestrian, and then his last 4 years were dominant. In his last year, his 8th year, he had it was either just above or just below 2.
Yeah.
Won the Cy Young, and then's like, I'm retired. Which I think is fucking awesome.
Right, Barry Sanders.
But I don't know. It's a tough one. That was a tough one. I don't remember when I filled mine out. To be honest with you, I don't remember who I picked.
I don't either.
I'll have to look. But that was a hard one for me.
It's hard to your point because when you look at the body of work, I mean, Mantle had so many more years to pull from. Like statistically, the body of work is amazing, but at their peak, there's not a lot of guys that were better than Koufax.
Oh no,
there just
not
weren't.
at all.
There just weren't.
Not at all.
He just didn't have enough years.
Dude, look at that maple tree that Mantle's swinging though. I know it's the angle of the camera, but look at the handle, dude. Look how thick the handle is.
You talk about forearms on Frank Thomas. What's the forearms on the Mick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
Well, and look at that bat. I mean, we put like prettier looking wood on our deck.
I know. I know.
Right?
That's the bats these guys played with. They were literally insane. That was a telephone pole outside that they whittled down and he swung. I mean, it was, there was no,
And you ain't getting that kitchen. You're not breaking that bat.
No, good God,
Dude,
no. I mean,
that thing's not breaking.
this was, these guys didn't have the glazed maple bats that were finally spun with axe handles. Like
Right.
these guys were swinging,
Yeah.
it was a stick they found. They kind of whittled down.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can hit with that bat, I tip my cap to you because that thing was like
I
swinging a
think
tree.
I picked Sandy Koufax, but I'm not sure.
I can't
We'll see how it
Yeah.
plays out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
All right, so here we got Roger Clemens against Tris Speaker.
sorry, Tris.
So I mean,
Yeah, all right,
yeah,
can't
I mean,
beat
it's. I mean, I would think we can kind of move on from this one. This one's kind of a. Yeah, I mean,
Now, are we steroid Clemens or non-steroid Clemens? Like, how are we gonna handle that?
career
either way, it
Clemens.
doesn't really matter,
We're
right?
career
I mean,
Clemens.
Well,
probably,
then Tris Speaker should win because he played clean.
We're career Clemens.
but Roger Clemens played clean before steroids, and he probably had a borderline Hall of Fame career before steroids.
I mean, I feel like we should probably just take Clemens off the bracket because he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame or the bracket.
True, or anyone between 94 and 03.
And who thought we were going to see a fight tonight?
Yeah,
No,
I
it's the stats are gaudy.
Yeah.
Poor
All right.
Tris Speaker, but
yeah, it's the Rocket for sure.
Yeah.
We got Pedro Martinez
This is a
against
cool
This is a
one.
good one.
This is a cool one.
I
too.
like it.
Pedro Martinez against Josh Gibson. I mean, they said the Negro League stats are on the internet, but I don't think they're 100% accurate. They say the legend is that Josh Gibson has hit over 800 career home runs. I don't know, but they said he was the best pure hitter that anyone has ever seen. And then you got, Pedro. Yeah, I mean, who's your daddy?
I mean, you talk about Koufax at his peak. I mean, Pedro at his peak was the same
It's
way.
right there. Yeah, right there.
Just, I mean, the career stats you look at and kind of go, they're really good, but man, when his peak, he was foolishly good.
Untouchable. He could tell the hitters what was coming, and it wouldn't matter.
Oh yeah,
Wouldn't
without a
matter.
doubt. And he had that bulldog mentality. I mean, he would the 90. What year did he come out of the bullpen in Cleveland?
98, I'm pretty sure. 'Cause that's the year
98, yeah,
Cleveland won
right.
it.
Yeah, I think you're right. 98. But that mentality, that bulldog, like, you know what? Yes, I'm a starter, but you guys need me. I'm gonna go in and grind it out. And
Yeah.
he did. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I love Pedro. I've always loved Pedro. Sucks the way it played out in 03 against the Yankees. We don't have to talk about that, but yeah, it's a tough one for Josh Gibson. This is tough one for Nick.
You're totally right,
It's a tough
Morgan.
one.
As soon as
Yeah.
Josh Gibson hit the bracket,
Yeah.
especially against Pedro,
Yeah, it's a tough one.
this is actually one we were trying to see if maybe we slide Josh Gibson to a different matchup, right? Because it's a hard one to start with. But
And I mean, it's just so hard because, like, I've read things about Josh Gibson, and like, we just don't know,
But
No.
we
right?
watch
Like, that's the
Pedro.
thing,
I
right?
know.
But we
We
watch
watch
Pedro.
Pedro.
everybody
it's
lives
such a great
Pedro.
point. I mean, I can't wait until you guys start filling these brackets out because like I'm having a blast with this. I can't wait to see what people are thinking and how they do it because there's no right or wrong. I mean, there's going to be a right one because we're going to pick it, but like, I mean, these matchups are awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and
like,
the beauty
geeking out.
of this next point, we're gonna put together our bracket, the final bracket, and compare to everybody else's. But there are so many matchups that could go either way. I mean, brackets could end up so many different ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You could even get to the same final person in it and come at it with a whole different
Mhm.
final four.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Great.
Yeah.
lot of arguments and debates that can go either direction.
So this last one right here, Ichiro against Mariano Rivera here.
Bye, Mo.
Yeah, I mean,
We should have put the video up of Ichiro taking Mariano deep to
Yeah,
seal
we
that
should
one.
have.
But
Yeah, we should have. Listen, I love Mario Rivera. Greatest closer
No,
of all time.
for
Don't
sure.
get
yeah,
me wrong.
absolutely.
I think anyone that
Oh,
says
we-
otherwise is biased, obviously. But like, could you make a case that Mariano, like career-wise, like his career, not saying Mariano himself, but his career is a little overrated? Like, in a simple fact that Mariano Rivera came into games when they were winning, pitched an inning when they were winning. Now he dominated it with one pitch,
Yep.
so I'm not trying to take anything away, but
No.
like he didn't come in when they were losing. Like Mariano
Right,
Rivera didn't have to
right.
stand on the mound
and stop a team.
when they're losing. Like, I don't know. I just think, and that's just the closer role in general, and he just did it better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So like, he's the greatest closer for sure. But I mean, it's Ichiro. It's Ichiro, right?
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Ichiro for sure.
Yeah.
Glad he's against Rivera.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because Stacey was one of the ones that was most mad about Mariano Rivera being unanimous. So this is some sweet revenge.
Right.
But
I almost put Ichiro in a Yankees uniform, but that would have really torn some
that would've
viewers.
been rough.
I'm just kidding. I never would do that. But
If you
but-
put him in a Marlins uniform, put him at the end in Miami.
the bright
Any-
orange ones.
Does anybody remember the Marlins adventure? Or
Are they a team?
oh, yeah. Well,
I-
but it's the same reason. Like I don't have Billy Wagner in my Hall of Fame ballot. Like I just don't put a lot of value on the closer role. Mariano being unanimous is a joke. Absolutely, by far best closer in the history of baseball, no doubt. But to me, it's a lower value position. To your point, he came in when he was winning. He had to get 3 outs. He might have been facing the bottom third of the lineup a lot of times.
Sure, and it's not just that. And this is now we're nitpicking, and I don't want it to be like we're picking on Mariano.
No.
But there are plenty of closers throughout baseball, in today's baseball, that like get the 4 and 5 out saves.
Oh,
Mariano never did.
No.
Like Joe Torre never brought him in.
and if he did, he got lit up.
Right, yeah. He was never a guy that would come in, get the last out of the 8th, and then go back up to the 9th.
Yeah.
He always came in on the clean end,
Who
which
was
is fine.
Who was
but-
the reliever we looked at from '74? What was the name of the reliever we looked at?
Oh, the guy that had
Oh, Mike Marshall.
Yeah,
Marshall, yeah.
who would save games by pitching 4 innings.
Yeah.
Like, he would come in and close
Yeah,
out the last
crazy.
4.
Insane. So that closes out.
And I agree with Morgan. I think you got Hoffman, who's
I would love Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah, love
And
Trevor Hoffman.
Agree for sure.
is Mariano better than Trevor Hoffman? Yeah, but is he better by a lot? I don't know.
No,
But I mean-
let's put it
But
this way.
Trevor Hoffman played for the freaking
Right, I was
Padres
just
for
gonna
crying
say,
out loud.
You
I
put
mean, like
Trevor Hoffman on those Yankees teams that Mariano
he saved
won all those
800 games.
Not just that, I think he wins just as many World Series.
Well,
Like,
and-
Oh,
I don't think the
absolutely.
drop of I don't think
Right.
I don't think the Yankee drop off of where maybe the Yankees win 1 title instead of 1,000. I don't see that being much different. I
Right.
really
No.
don't.
Right. I agree.
No, and Mariano had guys like John Wetland setting him up, who went off to be a fantastic
Yeah,
closer
right.
in his own
Yeah,
right. So I mean,
right.
it's again, we're not trying to nitpick on Mariano Rivera. He was best closer of all time, absolutely dominant, legend of the game. But
Yeah. The
What
closer
he-
role, I agree.
he had
It's
one
just-
singular thing he did where Ichiro could hit, run, field, throw. The guy had a freaking hose,
Yeah, and let's not.
and he could call
you-
his shot.
and
Like,
And
as
he's
you
got the single season hit record.
I could call a
I
shot.
mean,
And as you said, he wreaked havoc on the base paths.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
He was a nightmare.
yeah. I mean, half of his career hits are infield hits because he can book it down the line.
And there are stories of him basically going up and calling his shot. I'm gonna hit a home run in this at bat. Then he would. He'd go yard. Like the guy had bat control like nobody ever saw.
Crazy. So
That's the
that
end of this bracket.
yeah, that's the end of the bracket. So we'll recap this one real quick.
So we started with.
We started with Aaron.
There we go. So recap this bracket. We got Hank Aaron against Miguel Cabrera, David Ortiz versus Rogers Hornsby. We got Mike Trout versus Steve Carlton. We got Jimmy Fox versus Ozzy, Mickey Mantle, Sandy Koufax, Clemens, and Tris Speaker, Pedro Martinez, Josh Gibson, Ichiro, and Rivera. So, like the last couple brackets, who do we have for some favorites here?
Hank.
Hank's an obvious one, yeah.
Clemens, I think, has got to be up
Clemens
there.
for sure.
Those would, if I had to pick 2, like we're doing other bracket, those
Yeah.
would be my.
I
top
think
2.
then you got the Mick and Pedro who could make some noise here
yeah,
too.
The Mick, for sure, absolutely.
I mean,
That's if Mick gets out of his first round
right.
matchup.
This is
Right,
a super.
right.
This
I
is
mean-
another super loaded bracket.
Yeah.
Like tough decisions to make.
Yeah, I for me, I think it's Pedro and Aaron. I mean, I don't know.
I don't
It's
disagree
gonna be
with
hard.
Morgan. Aaron Clemens. I mean, it could be Aaron
Yeah.
Clemens, Aaron Pedro.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? Maybe Ichiro
Yeah.
sneaks a little further in this bracket.
he could easily
There's
because those second round matchups again, like you don't like you
Yeah.
got to look at those too.
Ichiro
So
versus
see.
Pedro and
Pedro,
Gibson. That's.
yeah.
I mean, this second round is going to be
And
awful. after
and
both.
you know what was really cool about Ichiro and Mo when I was looking at it was they faced each other.
Right.
So you could literally look up stats about how they did against each other. Like
I mean, you
I
got a
thought it
guy
was really
that
cool.
you got a guy that threw one pitch and dominated with it versus a guy who has probably one of the best bat controls of all time.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. This is a really good bracket. The second round is going to be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we might be here till midnight trying to figure that one out. but-
Yeah. There's no good way to figure that one out.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the Ty Cobb
Uh,
bracket here. So we got the first matchup: Ty Cobb, Alex Rodriguez. I tried to find the least flattering picture for A-Rod.
I was gonna say, is that like he's got like the most punchable face on the planet?
I literally was just gonna put him up there
How
with
do you
J-Lo,
not
but
find the one when he's like complaining about the Clay Buckles slapping the glove?
I mean,
How
I
do you
probably
not find that?
I was
funny?
thinking I did.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Anyways,
I'm just
I
saying.
wanted to do
That-
that one or just have J-Lo under his arm.
Oh
you know,
yeah, or Veritek shoving his glove in his
like,
face.
right?
I just is there a player that is genuinely disliked as much as A-Rod?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Not
actually,
in our
no,
generation.
I
actually,
think the
Ty
hard-
Cobb might have been that guy.
Yeah, I do too.
Talk
yeah.
about two guys that were hated in their
I mean,
era.
Right.
I think the hard thing with A-Rod is he's such an easy guy to dislike,
Yeah, he's such a tool.
but like his numbers are really
His
good.
numbers are
like, his
really
numbers are
good.
really good.
I mean,
And
I
he
mean,
was
600
and, like,
homers.
and we got to watch him
600.
play,
yeah.
and he was really good.
Yeah.
Like so, it's I so easily want to just simply like dismiss him, but it's a hard one to dismiss because he was really good.
He may have been part of the golden era of shortstops when you had Jeter, Nomar, A-Rod all coming up at the same time,
Yeah.
all battling in the American League.
For the record, my nitpick here is that Nomar is not on this top 64. I love Nomar.
I almost
He's
wore,
not
I almost
top
wore my
60.
Nomar jersey for you.
Dude,
I'm not saying he is. I'm
God,
just saying the
dude.
fact that he's not on here makes me sad because I love him.
He's not even top 100.
No,
I'm not
Nomar.
saying he is. I'm not sitting here saying he
No, no.
belongs on the list. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
I
he doesn't.
love Nomar.
Nomar's one of
I mean,
my
I
all-time
do too.
favorites.
I love him.
Should have put Ben Affleck for his picture. Wow, Morgan.
Awesome.
Ouch.
Love it.
Ouch. The A-Rod hate continues, but I'm with you. I wish I would. If there was a 65th slot, we should have popped Nomar in it.
Right.
1,000%.
He was 100. I got
Playing game.
I got Nomar stuff all over my man cave.
It's awesome.
At least, let's just put it this way. Glad that if Nomar's not on it, Cheater's not on it.
Jeter's on it.
Of course, Jeter's on it.
Of course, Jeter's on it. All right, so here we go. Next
moving on.
matchup we got Ernie Banks against Warren Spahn. Mr. Cub
Mr. Cub.
against, I mean, arguably Mr. Brave at the
I-
time.
yeah.
I mean, Warren Spahn had some silly numbers for the Braves.
He does.
Still, I mean, he's still, I think, leads in almost all the pitching categories,
Yeah.
or most of the pitching categories.
I mean,
Okay.
Ernie Banks was the first power hitting shortstop, though. Like he changed
Ernie-
the
Ernie
frame
Banks
for
is a
shortstop.
stud. He was one of a kind.
And again, we talk about another guy, one team whole career,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I've said it on shows before, but I love that. I love when you
Absolutely.
see guys like that.
The Cubs,
I
the
love
Cubs have been around as long as dirt, and he's still Mr. Cub.
Yeah.
Like, what does that tell you about Ernie Banks?
it. Mhm.
Love
Like
it.
in all the years, all the other players that have come and gone, they've even won a World Series title, and nobody took his spot as Mr.
And
Cub.
no one will.
Never. You can't take Ernie Banks' spot. He's irreplaceable.
So this could be another one of the matchups of the bracket right here.
Yankee-
Joe DiMaggio.
I love the Jeter picture.
Yes.
Love the Jeter
Yep.
picture. Him. I'm pretty sure I can see tears in his eyes.
Joe,
too.
Joe DiMaggio against Derek Jeter here. I mean,
It's DiMaggio.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Boy.
Jeter has the world championships. He's got 3,000 hits. He hit a walk-off hit in his last at bat, dude. How
I
clutch
know,
do you
it's
get with
gross.
that?
No, it's a
That
different-
was
right.
like, listen, I hate the Yankees,
Oh, I hate him.
but like, I mean, how magical is that, dude? You know it's your last at bat at Yankee Stadium, and you get a walk-off RBI single to
And
end
in-
your
and in
career.
In
Perfect-
typical Jeter, he
Yeah,
fisted
I
out
was
to
just
right
gonna
field.
say.
Right, that's
And
what
then,
I'm
he
saying.
didn't drive it to the gap.
Perfect
Yeah,
Jeter
right.
form. It was a little dying quill to right field, but
But still cool. It's still an awesome moment,
Oh,
right?
sick.
I mean,
it's the best send off. It's like Mariano Rivera going up for his last time and coming, and they sent Andy Pettit
I'm
those
just saying,
guys to go
right.
get him. It's
From like 98 through like 2003, when Nomar was in Boston, Nomar had a better batting average, better on base percentage, better
Okay.
slugging percentage,
Oh, yeah.
more total bases,
So we'll
more
switch
home
'em
runs, more doubles. Now, granted, Jeter has the career. I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind of tongue in cheek with that. Like
No,
Jeter
'cause
has a career.
right.
Once-
3,000 hits and all
once
that.
Nomar got traded,
But-
his career went right down the toilet.
Well,
the
he tore his-
steroids. I mean, the
right.
steroids didn't help.
he tore his groin right off his bone.
But I kind of agree. I don't think it's as
That's
close,
awesome.
but I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
I
it's
was
just
actually going to
Jeter.
say that the beauty of this is that you've got two guys who are tried and true New Yorkers who have a history of all kinds of high profile women, perpetual bachelors.
Derek Jeter used to give his women a
Yeah.
gift basket when he
Yeah.
put them in the limo.
Oh yeah,
Which is
Like-
so boss. So boss.
What?
good seeing you, sweetheart. Here's your basket. See ya.
Thanks for. Well, maybe
Yes.
not coming, but we'll see.
Wow. This,
Yeah.
this
I mean, what
we
else?
just lost our PG-13.
Yeah.
rating.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, mom, if
Because
you're
all
listening.
my F bombs wasn't doing it before.
But yeah, oh my god,
So yeah,
goodness
Yankee
gracious.
versus Yankee. Maybe we just scratch this matchup out and move on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. Next one here, we got Reggie Jackson against Joe Morgan.
Is there a more underrated player than Joe Morgan in
No,
baseball?
absolutely
history? I mean,
No.
his stats, as terrible as he was on ESPN for all those years as a commentator, he was disgusting on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting.
I mean,
Big Red Machine.
I was gonna say.
I mean, he played a big
Yeah.
role in that. I mean, it
he
was
was sick.
Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, him. I mean, he played a major role in that team.
but I mean, at the same time, like I could have also hit in that lineup. All I would have seen was fastballs with those other people around. Not saying I'm not taking
Right.
anything away from Joe Morgan, but having all those guys, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan,
Oh, they were loaded.
Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, having all those guys in a row, like who are you gonna pitch to? You got to pitch to all of them.
Right.
And you're gonna see pitches to hit because, like, how else do you get them out? You're not gonna walk 4 batters in a row.
No, and as much love as Murderers Row gets, that Big Red Machine lineup was not worse. They were not. I mean,
God.
you put those two lineups head to head, that would be a hell of a series to watch. And I'm not
Oh,
so
my
sure
God.
the Yankees win it.
Yeah, I
Firework games.
I can't
Oh, it'd
even.
be awesome.
9-8, 7-4,
Oh, it'd be mint.
home
Oh,
runs
my God.
galore.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, those Big Red
I'd
Machines
give everything
were,
to see that series, dude.
Oh,
That would be
the
insane.
Big Red Machine was loaded. Joe Morgan was a huge part of it. He
Yeah.
was such a good second baseman.
Look
Look at this.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
awesome. Love it.
Nick's sister's got to check in on
No,
him.
it's my mom.
Oh, it's your mom? Oh,
Sorry, mom.
geez. Oh, that's even worse.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
Yeah, this one was easy for me, but only because, again, we talk about A-Rod being hateable. Reggie Jackson's kind of right up there. Like, I'm just so sick of the shtick.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh,
he was good though. I mean, the guy showed up in when it mattered, so it's like,
Dude, and-
it mattered. But
Wasn't he the one in Naked Gun? Wasn't Reggie Jackson in Naked Gun?
yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, totally.
Naked
That was-
Gun's the who's
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no,
That's
I think
the only
I'm pretty
time in
sure
my
it
whole
was him.
life I liked Reggie Jackson. Otherwise, I can't stand it.
Oh, I mean, the guy, he did it in Oakland. He did it in New York. I mean, the career numbers are there. And the
Really?
highlights
Yeah,
are
I can
there.
hit.
And the standards are there. I get it. But like,
Dude.
ugh.
You want to talk about a guy who loved himself
Oh.
when he saw in the mirror? Yeah, you think Ricky was
yeah,
bad?
I know.
You think
I know.
A-Rod was bad? I mean,
Oh,
Reggie
I
might
know.
have taken the cake.
But those bombs, dude, in the playoffs, like
But
those were absolute nukes.
Not
Oh,
just, but they
no,
nukes
missiles.
when they needed
Missiles.
them.
Right.
Like, nukes when it mattered. Nukes
Like,
in the 8th inning.
God,
Nukes the guys on.
No,
Yeah.
Insane.
it's. I mean, the stats are grotesque. The big hits are grotesque. Like he had a massive career. He was just such a tool. Such a tool.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, just look at his face. You're like, look at his crappy sunglasses and the goofy smirk on his face. It's like I just can't
Yeah.
do it.
The next one I think is my favorite one. Of the first
yeah,
one.
Morgan can't comment on this one. Here we go. Barry Bonds against Albert Pujols.
Woo!
This is a good one too.
This
I
is my
mean,
favorite one of the entire
it's
bracket.
this.
Yeah.
This is a good matchup, but I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer just because.
Albert
Oh, I
Pujols?
think it's a new.
Yeah, no doubt.
I say no brainer too, but like,
I don't know, man. I'm such an Albert fan. Like, such.
But it
Albert
is. It's a
fan.
tough one though because
you could
Albert
take,
has the numbers for sure.
You could take
But-
every home run Barry Bonds ever hit
Oh, yeah.
and turn them all into outs, and he
Yeah.
would have the same on base
Well-
percentage of his career
Yeah,
of A-Rod.
yeah. There's Morgan. Bonds on this bracket.
I
no
mean,
one
it's
touches him.
it's right. I mean, he's right though. He's right.
I steroids aside, I've never loved Barry Bonds. Like I've just never loved Barry.
Okay.
Love Albert, but like it's Barry Bonds. I mean, the numbers are stupid.
Right.
I mean, the guy
Let it
put up
sink
video
in.
game numbers.
He hit how many home runs in his career? And you could turn all of them into outs. And his OBP for his career after all those
I
outs
know.
is like 358 or like
He
whatever.
He
Like,
put up friggin' video game numbers. I mean,
I mean, come on.
It's crazy.
I mean,
And yes, steroids, fine. Maybe if you want to point to the home run numbers, steroids doesn't help you
No.
recognize pitches. Steroids doesn't help you know the strike zone. in
Put the
and out.
barrel on the ball. Yeah.
It helps with hitting the ball, fine. But as we've said in shows before, it's not like Barry Bonds. Most of his home runs were like wall scrapers, and you could be like, oh well, they wouldn't have got out without steroids.
no, he
I
would
mean,
have.
these things landed like some of them haven't landed.
Most of his home runs would have been hit out of Yellowstone.
Some
I mean,
of them haven't been
Right.
haven't
They-
landed yet. So
there was no park holding them.
No.
But
Absolutely.
talk about a guy who's just so not likable. Like I
I guess, but I don't think that's his fault. or all of it, I should say. He became the face of steroids, I think, unfairly in a way.
Absolutely.
And like, what do you want the guy to do? Like, if I was in his shoes in the early 2000s and like baseball, like the institution of baseball was trying to pin steroids on me, like I kind of have that FU attitude too.
Absolutely.
I really would.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to think that I wouldn't, but I would.
And like I've said before, like it's unfair that Clemens doesn't get as much heat as Barry Bonds.
No,
did.
it's so true.
You know,
Sure, but
he,
I mean,
he gets some heat.
He
but
takes a
it's
fair
not
amount of crap,
nearly-
but not
Yeah.
the
There's
same.
I mean, but there's plenty of guys that deserve the same amount of
Oh, absolutely.
But he became that guy, and I'd be an asshole too.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
I
yeah,
would.
that's crazy.
So I think the whole like unlikability, like I almost put that more on like the institution of baseball than I put it on Barry Bonds himself.
Yeah, he was never like a super warm and fuzzy guy even when he was early in his career. But when baseball tried to throw the whole problem on his back and the media made the narrative, I don't blame him for hating everybody. I would have too. I would have gone out there, hit home runs, and I would run by the press box and flipped him off. I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been a pretty angry dude too. But
I mean, you can't
his
shake
numbers-
the career Pujols had either.
No,
though.
I mean-
Like,
No, and this isn't a knock on Albert.
no.
You know, I think Albert's
getting
a
screwed at the matchup.
phenomenal talent. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of the best hitters, right-handed hitters of all time.
Albert is
Absolutely.
getting
But
screwed
it's
by
just,
this
yeah,
matchup.
it's just
There's probably like 60 players in this whole bracket that Albert beats. But
Probably-
Barry
in the
Bonds
first
ain't one
round,
of them. Yeah,
probably,
but Barry
yeah,
Bonds ain't one of them.
But all right, so yeah, good one. We got Christy Mathewson against Carl Yastrzemski. Now this
a
is
couple of Boston boys.
and this is also an interesting one because Mathewson, first class Hall of Famer, 5,860 career starts or something
Whatever,
like that.
some
With
insane number.
I think he's the one actually I was talking about earlier today.
like
Where it was like some crazy number of games started. And then like when you average it out, like over 60% turned out to be like complete games. And then of the ones that were complete games, like 40% of those are some crazy number were like complete game shutouts. It's like, oh, all right.
okay,
Yeah,
but
Like it was insane.
let's pause for a minute and let's take a look at Christy Mathewson's picture.
Yeah.
Look where he's pitching.
Yeah.
Okay. No wonder Ty Cobb hit 400 every year.
Yeah.
Look at that freaking infield for crying out loud.
I've seen cow pastures in better shape.
Like, goodness gracious.
I hope that's like a practice field they're showing him on. Because
I hope it's not even a practice field, man. Like, goodness gracious.
I mean, yeah, that's like if you went through my neighborhood and found the worst yard in the neighborhood, that's probably still worse than it.
I would rather play on a hill. Like,
I'd
that's
rather play in the
bad.
parking lot.
Oh, for sure.
At least you get a true
True
out.
up. Yeah.
But I mean, that field is garbage.
Yep.
So there's only like half grass, anyways.
Yeah.
It's a tough one too, though, because Yaz is.
Triple crown.
I mean, we talk about one player, one team. I mean,
Yep. He's still everything Boston.
Well,
Boston. He comes up in every Boston conversation.
It's funny
He does.
because like he's part of like Boston folklore, but most people have no idea how good he actually was.
Well, and I think the tough
They
thing
just
about
accept it.
right. I think the tough thing about Yaz, or maybe not tough, is probably not the right word, but the thing that I think Yaz deserves credit for, like for all intents and purposes, like Yaz took over left field from Ted goddamn Williams.
Right.
I know.
Like
Absolutely.
he's like the greatest left field hitter of all time.
Yeah.
Man's left field in Boston for quite a long time. Retires. And then like young Yaz takes that over and then just carries that on.
What a tough act to follow.
And he did it
I know,
so
he did it
well, his own
exceptionally
way.
well.
Yaz also doesn't like people. Stacey says, and I kind of have that. That's true. Like from everything I've heard, like that's true too.
I met him
and
in a
like-
card show. He was a jerk.
And here's
he
the thing
really?
that kills
Total
me:
jerk.
99% of the world would kill to be Yaz
Yep.
in Boston.
right.
Like you're
Right.
Carl Yastrzemski in Boston.
Yep.
Right.
Like who wouldn't want to be Carl Yastrzemski in Boston? But yet, like every time they bring him back for like these honor, like he puts the jersey on, he waves to the crowd. Like by the time first pitch is thrown, he's gone. He's gonna stay for the game.
No, he doesn't.
Like all that attention when his grandson Mike came to the park. Like he wasn't.
Oh yeah,
I played against him in high school. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
nice.
Little tidbit. But,
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I met Yaz at a card show. He was a total jerk. Didn't talk to anybody. Refused to talk to anybody. You had to hand what he was signing to somebody who then walked it 2 steps back to him to sign. He had a huge buffer between the people.
and like
He
what-
has
I mean,
never liked people. He doesn't
I
like
get it,
attention.
like, you
That's
don't-
crazy.
And
But
I guess there are
just
some
how he
people
is.
that are introverts, and that's totally fine. I'm not knocking people, but it's like, dude, you're Yaz in Boston. Like, put on a smile. Let someone buy you a drink. Like, if I could go out and tell people,
Crazy.
if I could go out and tell people that I bought Yaz a beer, like that would make my year. Like, let me buy you.
Like-
You don't have to drink it, but
like,
let me buy you a beer.
my-
Say thanks.
My
like,
Christmas card would only be that.
Yeah, just like
Right.
I
Like
don't-
my kids wouldn't even be on it. It would just be talking about me buying
I guess I'm
Yaz
just
a beer.
nitpicking yes, but Yaz's baseball career, guys,
Gross.
all time.
Just gross.
So that's a
Something.
tough one because so with Christy Mathewson.
I know.
So,
Yeah. Two guys that had stupid numbers.
Next one here, we got Honus Wagner, Randy Johnson.
don't get
In a
me,
Mariners uniform, good
don't
call.
get me started on the big unit.
So we won't.
Oh,
We won't go there.
I love the
Honus Wagner, best shortstop of his time. Talk about a tree trunk in your hand, dude. Look at
That's
that thing.
ridiculous.
It still
I mean-
has the branches on it for crying out loud.
There's still some bark at the top. But,
Like,
I mean,
wow.
look at how thick that handle is. The barrel on the
Insane.
handle are like the same thickness.
He can't even like close his
Oh,
hands
this-
around it.
It's like
I'm sorry,
grabbing
this
this
just
water
hit me.
bottle and swinging this thing.
This just hit me real quick on the whole, just to tie a loop on the Yaz thing. Stacey said my dad sees him all the time. He hopes people won't know who he is. If Yaz is going out in Boston, still hoping people don't know, he just shouldn't go out in Boston.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Like you're like at this point, like you're Yaz in Boston, people know who you are.
Yeah.
So sorry.
That's like when Nick goes out and wins them.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
But yeah, no, Randy Johnson, Honus Wagner, it was best shortstop of his time. Randy Johnson is disgusting.
Yeah.
and for
Randy
sure,
Johnson's numbers,
Randy will always, as good as he was in Arizona, he's always been a Seattle Mariner. to me. That's
I did
all
that,
think of.
Stacy. You're welcome.
Well, Nick put a Diamondbacks jersey in there. Sean and I were like, no, it's got to be Mariners.
Goodness gracious.
Shout out to
Randy
Mariners.
Johnson had 4 seasons of 300 plus strikeouts.
Oh, it's gross.
4 separate seasons of 300 plus strikeouts.
Is there a pitcher in baseball history who's scarier on the mound?
Right
No,
now.
I mean, homely
No.
looking too.
Or ever.
Like, he's
I don't
I
think so.
mean, he was 6'10", looked like he just rolled out of the bar.
on a
And
motorcycle.
pitched like it, too.
Oh yeah,
On a motorcycle,
right?
On a motorcycle.
And pitched like it sometimes, too.
Oh, I mean, that he pitched angry. He was nasty.
What was-
Even though Lou Collins almost took him deep
right,
at the
almost.
end of Little Big League, except
Almost.
Griffey robbed him.
Right.
But Lou Collins almost, that was lefty on lefty too, and Lou almost took him to left side.
What was that commercial, Mr. Snappy? You remember the Mr. Snappy commercial?
No.
So he would throw a baseball with just his middle finger, and he would show like all the clips of the ball going to the backstop.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh my God, you got to look it up. Mr. Snappy. It was a new pitch that he threw out
Yeah,
there.
I
It's
feel
got to
like-
be on YouTube somewhere.
I feel like the only pitcher in history of baseball that was scarier than Randy Johnson was Rick Wilding Vaughn.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Because
I think that's probably right.
he would not be afraid to throw it in your ear hole, and sometimes he would and didn't even know he was doing it.
I mean, from what I hear about this next matchup too,
The
is
final one.
this guy also was
Oh,
scary.
for sure.
Bob Gibson against Bob Feller.
Gibson hit you in
The
the
battle
mouth.
of the Bobs.
Bob Gibson would brush back his mother.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one for Bob Feller.
Didn't care. Yeah, poor Bob Feller. I mean,
So-
he deserves better, but Gibson was a freak.
If
I mean,
you got
Bob Gibson broke baseball. They changed the rules because of him.
right, but there's I've said it before. I think in one of our previous podcasts, the documentary called Fastball. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But Bob Feller was the first pitcher to ever be radared, and he literally had to throw it through like a 1-by-1 box twice, like they were stacked up.
Right.
Feller or Gibson?
Feller
Oh,
did.
Oh, Feller did. Okay.
And he had to, and it was like a naval radar, like, I mean, it was archaic. It
I
was
bet.
ridiculous. But he had to stand 60 feet, 6 inches away and throw it through a 1-by-1
So it
box.
goes to show you not just the age, but it's the accuracy.
Yeah.
The ability to place the ball.
And he was just letting it go.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw hard. And I think they clocked him at like 94 or 95 at that time. And that was like, that was hard for them.
Yeah, and
But-
so many. I mean, myself included. So many of us like don't think these guys prior to like the 70s and 80s threw all that hard. There are plenty of these guys back in the 40s and 50s that were throwing absolute gas. We just
Sure, but
Right.
it wasn't commonplace. Like
It
it's
wasn't. It
commonplace.
wasn't.
And it
now,
was
like-
right. It wasn't 1 through 5.
Right, and you
Right,
get,
right.
and it's like, but even now, like every single bullpen has 2 or 3 guys that are throwing 99 to triple digits.
Oh, for
They're
sure.
not starters, but like every team has multiple guys they can bring in, lefty or righty, out of a pen that's just gassing you at triple digits.
Yeah.
So there were plenty of guys back in the day, sure, but it just wasn't as common.
No,
Right, absolutely.
not. But you think about a guy like Bob Gibson. Not only could the guy throw gas, he had incredible off-speed stuff and could probably hit a penny off the backstop.
Mhm.
Like freakishly accurate.
Absolutely. So that does it. That is our last matchup of the first round here. So we'll recap this one real quick.
We started with
Ty Cobb.
There he is. So We got Ty Cobb versus Alex Rodriguez, Ernie Banks and Warren Spahn, Joe DiMaggio versus a very sad-looking Derek Jeter, Reggie Jackson versus Joe Morgan, Barry Bonds and Albert Pujols, Christy Matthews versus Yaz, Honus Wagner versus the Big Unit, Bob Gibson versus Bob Feller. So aside from Bonds, who else do we have as favorites in this one?
Obviously top seed Ty Cobb could take a run. Possibly. Bob Gibson takes a run.
Yeah.
I think Yaz too. I think Yaz puts his name in there.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
But
I do think Bonds is the favorite out in front.
It's funny. It's the Ty Cobb bracket, but like Bonds is the heavy favorite in Ty Cobb's bracket.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just it makes sense.
When we did this whole thing last week and like out of the 4 number 1 seeds, if you will, I think Ty Cobb is far away the weakest one.
Yeah, he was
right
of the top
seeds,
4
the
for
top
sure.
4.
Of the headliners, Ty Cobb is.
And so I do think taking the weakest number 1 and putting him in the same bracket as Barry Bonds, maybe in hindsight, but we'll see how it plays out.
But we
We'll see how it plays
didn't.
out, right.
We did it the way that the top 16 were
right.
actually put into a regular.
And to Morgan's point, we didn't give you Maddox. We gave you Bob Gibson. It's not a bad guy to run against Barry Bonds, but Bonds is one of those guys, kind of iconic level that's going to be hard for anybody to match up with.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that is our final bracket. That was a blast to go through that. That was really cool.
Sick matchups.
There's some really good matchups.
Let's actually pull up the bracket real quick.
Okay, yep. And we'll explain how the points will work here. So this is what the full bracket looks like here.
Here's the full bracket.
So here's the full bracket. We'll post it on Facebook and you'll fill it out and then send it to the email, like I said. So first round will be 1 point for every pick. Second round will be 2 points. The third round will be 4, and then the final 4 will be 8 points.
No, you missed the.
No, it's 8, then 16.
So 8, then 16.
8,
Sorry.
then 6, right.
Yeah.
So it just doubles up every round.
Right, just doubles up every round. And then if there is a tiebreaker for total points, whoever gets the most Final Four players in the Final Four correct will win the tiebreaker. So that's how that will go.
Yeah, so fill out your brackets. We'll be voting each week, kind of the 3 of us, so there's no tiebreaker, or there's a tiebreaker, so there's no ties for us. We'll work our way through the bracket over several weeks and kind of follow along and see where we come out. This is a PDF file. You can actually just fill it in on your computer if you want. If you're so inclined, you can. Those little boxes in each bracket you can type into, or you can just print it out and write all over it. But fill them out, send them back in. We'd love to see how they line up versus our final version.
Yep. So we'll also post the email, but again, it's rounding third baseball podcast @gmail.com. We will post that with the bracket, so you guys will have all that information. And that was a blast.
This is going to be so much fun.
I can't wait till you guys get into it and see who you guys pick, and as we talk about it each week.
There's no criteria. I know for most of the ones when I went through, it was mainly like career stats versus career stats. But if you guys put more weight into the way that people changed the game versus a stat, or what they meant overall to the game of baseball, like it's however you guys see it. I think that's what's going to make it the most interesting.
And that's the cool part. People are going to vote for different reasons.
Exactly.
They're going to vote based on how much they like the person, how much they remember about the person, how much they were impacted baseball, stats, whatever. It's going to be fun to see where everybody comes out.
For sure.
Absolutely. But so before we go, I know hopefully we will get some baseball back.
Yeah.
They have scheduled 4 meetings, I think, for next week.
Yep.
They said. So goodness gracious, let's cross our fingers and hope they start sometime soon, because.
And if not, we'll talk some college baseball, because
College
baseball started. So
right.
we'll
and
try and have some kind of baseball.
And MLB pushed back the start of spring training to March 5th, which means they feel like there's a chance we could get started here soon. So I guess we'll see. I feel like we may have a little bit of hope here that we haven't had in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, hopefully it's none of these like 15-minute meetings where they're like, hey, you got anything? No. Do you? No? Okay, bye. Like, forget it.
To Sean's point, if nothing else, minor league will start reporting in a few weeks. So there's gonna be minor league baseball, college baseball.
Yeah.
We've already there's already a big upset in the SEC the other day. So we'll
Not to make it full about college baseball,
Yeah,
but
but
at least
we'll-
maybe just
right,
baseball stuff. I
absolutely.
mean, like it's
we'll talk top 25 college baseball. We'll talk minor league ball. We'll find stuff to talk about. Baseball's still going to get played whether these pros get on the field or not.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I can't, like I said, can't wait to get this like really cranking. I think this is going to be awesome. Like we're having a blast with it already. And like, we haven't even, seen what your brackets are yet. So good luck to everybody. And we will see you guys. We will not be on this Monday. We're going to let you guys take the week, do your research, fill out the bracket, and we will be back on next Monday. So we will see you all then, and thanks for tuning in.
And boy, was it good to be live with you guys.
Right,
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
so
fun.
much fun,
That
dude.
was
I loved
fun.
it. This was
That's
great.
awesome. All right.
Sure.
See you, everybody.
See you guys.